Hi, and welcome to this Dimecast about navigating between view controllers and iOS. Today, we're just going to start by creating a new Xcode project. And while they do have some templates, like a tabbed application and master detail application that do allow some level of navigation, I'm going to start with the single view application so that we can really understand how things work. So I'll pick that single view and I'll say next. We'll call the product name just Dimecast Nav. Objective-C, we're not going to use core data. Next. Okay, we'll save it in our Dimecast folder. And there we go. Right off the bat, we'll look at our storyboard. We have one view controller. I'm going to start by dragging a label out and a button and an extra view controller. Which is also going to have a label and a button. On the first one, I'll just label this one 1 so we know where we are. And the button text is going to be go to 2. And this one will be called 2. And the button is going to take us go to 1. Okay, the most simple way to navigate between view controllers without using navigation controllers or tabs or anything else is just control-click on the button, drag to the view controller you want to go to, and let go. That's going to allow you to create a segue. A segue is how you move between view controllers. You can show it, you can show detail, present modally, whatever. And then these older ones were push and modal were kind of the same as show and present modally. But these are the new actions. In this case, we're going to present it modally. You'll notice now there's this segue between 1 and 2. This arrow with the circle and square. And you'll notice while it's selected in the properties window, we can choose the segue. So if you chose differently than you wanted to, or you made a mistake and accidentally picked, you can change here, or you can just explore and see what they do. But now, so let's run this. So I click go to 2. You notice how that slid up from the bottom, and now we're at the second view controller. Go to 1. Nothing happens. You might think what we might want to do is control click and just drag back. That's not the way to go. There's actually an easier way to do this. And what that's called is a technique called unwinding the segue. So while we follow the segue to get where we are, we're going to unwind the segue to go back. And that doesn't actually require very much code at all, and it doesn't require any code here in the second view controller. So this first view controller is controlled by view controller H and view controller M. So we'll just come right in the M file, and we'll add a method. It's an IB action method, and we're just going to call it returned, and that's going to take a UI storyboard segue, which is a pointer, and we'll just call that variable segue. And that's all there is. It doesn't even have to do anything in order for this to work. It just has to exist. So if we go back to our storyboard, you notice on the storyboard, every view controller has these 3 boxes at the top. They represent the view controller itself, first responder, and exit. In this case, we're really interested in exit because that's how we want to get out of the view controller. So if we control click from this button to exit, it shows you all possible methods that can be used to unwind the segue. So I'll click returned. And we're going to jump back real quick to view controller M just to prove that this method is actually called. We'll just call nslog and just say we're returned. So we'll run it. Go to 2. Go to 1. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, you can see we did call it 3 times. So that's a very simple way to navigate. But there's yet another way. So if I select my first view controller and I go up to the menu and I say Editor, Embed in Navigation Controller. It creates a navigation controller, which you never actually see. It's the initial view controller, but the first thing it does is load the first view controller it knows about, which in this case is here. So I'm going to grab these two items, scoot them down a bit because the bar's in the way. And we'll move these two buttons down a bit because I'm going to take this segue and now change it from present modally to show. And you'll notice it gets a tab bar too. And this button, I'm going to go here and unhook it from the unwind segue. So literally we have no code now that's actually being used. Let's run this. Go to 2. And now the navigation controller gave us this bar at the top with back for free. So I click back. So some simple navigation there. The third kind of navigation I'm going to talk about. So we're going to delete this nav controller. And I'm going to embed this. Go again, Editor, Embed in UITabBarController. And we're going to select this tab bar controller. Go to the properties and say is initial. Because when I deleted the nav controller, we lost which one we want to start with. So here's the tab bar controller. Here's one. You'll notice the item has been defined. Here on the tab bar controller, we just see a collection of items that it knows about. If you want to actually define what that icon looks like and what it's called, you do that on the view controller itself. So here we have this square and it says item. The icon we can change to a bunch of presets or we can define it ourselves. We'll just pick top rated and let it sit. Now in this case, I want to be able to get from here to here. So I'm going to delete this segue this time. Also, make sure that button is detached, which it is now. And so to attach this tab bar controller over here to number 2, let's bring this other view controller so we can look at what we're doing a little bit. Okay. All right. So if I want to just add the second view controller onto the tab bar, I'll control click anywhere in tab bar, let go. We'll get the segue type again. This one I want the relationship of view controllers. And now we're connected and now we have a second item. We'll define that one the same way. I'll click on it and we'll make this one contacts. All right, let's run it again. So we're already on top rated. I can jump to contacts. Back and forth. You get the highlighting down here for free as well. You can put whatever custom icon down here you'd like, and there are plenty on the internet that you can find to use. If we look and do a simple Google search for custom tab bar icons, you can see there are plenty that have been defined. You can use these, you can find free ones, or you can make your own, as long as you follow the guidelines. That's it for this episode. In this episode, we've seen how to use buttons and segues to navigate between view controllers. We've seen how to use a navigation view controller to get navigation between view controllers for free, along with back navigation as well. And lastly, we saw how to use a tab bar controller to navigate between view controllers. Remember, all of this code can be found on GitHub. The link to this repository is in the show notes. So if you want to pull down any projects that we've done so far, feel free. So that is all, and hope to see you next time.